let me throw some back on your shoulders. You're going to go back home to Wisconsin and you are going to have had this experience, you've taken this course. What's the killer argument you're going to make to your classmates of why they should get involved?
I would say a killer argument would be if they don't vote, go out there and vote, their voices aren't necessarily heard. I mean, many people believe that their vote is sort of diluted because there's like 700,000 people per representative. But yet, all people voting, it still counts. If you get numerous people to vote, then voting rate increases and more opinions are being heard.
If people aren't voting, there is an opportunity for the majority's opinion to not actually become what is law. Like with the factions stated in Federalist 10, if all these people, like just specific groups, are going out and voting, but the mass majority isn't, then there's going to be more specialized laws that a lot of people don't actually agree with.
Many times people are quick to criticize government, but however, if they don't vote, then there's no way that they can influence their government. They need that enlightened self-interest that Tocqueville observed when he visited America.
However, people also have the right not to vote. If they don't feel either candidate is worthy of office, why should they be forced to go out and elect them? And what are you going to do with people that don't vote? Like take away their citizenship? Because that's deemed cruel and unusual punishment in the case Chope v. Dulles.
On voting, we've conferred rights in the Constitution for women to vote and for 18-year-olds. There's actually a movement in Alaska that says that maybe people who are younger than 18, 16 and above, should be allowed to vote in the school board elections in particular. What do you think about that concept?
Considering there are only 3 states in the United States that require a civic course before graduation, I do not think that would be appropriate, because I don't think that kids young enough, if they're not given a class to teach them that, there's not very many that are going to go out and find it on their own. So we're going to be adding uneducated voters, and that's only going to ruin what we already haven't established very well.
Do a quick one? We good? Tocqueville talked about relying on local people doing things, getting things involved. You talked about the fact the federal government ought to be, is more involved. Why do you think we ought to have more local activity?
Justice Brandeis, in the case of New State Ice Company v. Liebman, said the states are the laboratories of democracy. And when the people gather together in more localized governments, it can be seen that they can get more done than if it was just on a federal level.
Thank you very much.
Great.
We enjoyed your very spirited and interesting discussion very much. You started out by saying that liberty, equality, and representative government were the bedrock of our society, and then you just left us there. If I'd had an opportunity, I would like to have come back and ask you why, and particularly you included equality there, but then you kept qualifying how much equality as you went ahead in the discussion. So I was not sure where you ended up in terms of the concept of equality as opposed to the responsibility that government might have for promoting equality, or how much of it was possible. I liked your citation to the 14th, 15th, 16th, and needless to say the 19th, the best amendment to the Constitution. I liked your reference to the Universal Declaration as you were comparing and contrasting them. I thought some of the legislative acts that you cited were very good examples, and I appreciated your observations in respect to enlightened self-interest. Very interesting presentation.
Thanks. I thought you did a really fine job. Starting off with kind of going systematically in a systematic approach, talking about some of the constitutional effects on a vibrant democracy, and then going down through congressional law and court cases. I thought was it was a good way to do it. I wish that we had heard a little bit more, like Margaret had mentioned, about the equality in your opening statement. I don't think we actually got to that point again, and maybe it was answered a little bit during the questions and answers. It looks like you did a lot of research in it, and because you had a lot of good supporting evidence in the answers that we heard. Overall, you did a really good job. Thank you.
I appreciate your really tight initial statement. You crammed a lot into a few minutes' time, and even down to some of the sentences I heard you say, you were able to build a very good argument in that opening statement. You've obviously thought about these things. Your definition of active versus passive involvement was nice. That was a good addition. That's something you put in there yourself. Take a look around this room a little bit. You're one of a very small percentage of people who will ever testify in a room like this. We hope you're going to come back, not as the indicted, but rather as the enlightened, who can enlighten the people who sit up on these tables. Obviously, your studies so far have put you on the right trajectory. Congratulations.